Welcome to the Buddhism Podcast. Today we're exploring how to find genuine stillness in our hyper-connected, always-on, perpetually busy world. A skill I believe is becoming as essential for modern mental health as learning to read or write. I discovered the urgent need for this practice during what I now call my hamster wheel period. I was juggling multiple projects, checking emails obsessively, scrolling through social media between tasks, and falling asleep to the blue glow of my phone screen. My mind felt like a browser with 50 tabs open, all running different programs that were slowly draining my battery. Even during supposed relaxation time, I felt internally restless, unable to simply be present without reaching for some form of stimulation or distraction. The turning point came during a particularly overwhelming week when I found myself standing in my kitchen at 2 a.m., stress-eating cereal while simultaneously checking Instagram and mentally rehearsing the next day's to-do list. In that moment, I realized I had completely lost touch with any sense of inner stillness. I was living entirely on the surface of experience, skimming across the waves of activity without ever diving beneath into the calm depths that Buddhist teachings promise are always available. If this resonates with you, you're certainly not alone. Research shows that the average American checks their phone 96 times per day, switches between different apps and tasks every 11 minutes, and reports feeling always busy, even during leisure time. We're experiencing what psychologists call time famine, the persistent feeling that there's not enough time, even when we technically have more labor-saving devices and conveniences than any generation in human history. Yet here's what I find most striking about our modern predicament. We've created unprecedented external convenience while simultaneously generating unprecedented internal chaos. We can order food with a tap, connect with people worldwide instantly, and access unlimited entertainment. Yet rates of anxiety, depression, and feeling overwhelmed continue to climb. We've optimized everything except our own inner experience. The Buddhist understanding of stillness offers a radically different approach to this modern dilemma. Stillness, or samatha in the ancient language, isn't about creating perfect external conditions or eliminating all activity from our lives. It's not about retreating to a monastery or spending hours in meditation halls. Instead, it's about discovering a quality of inner calm that can exist right in the middle of busy life, a peaceful center that remains undisturbed regardless of what's happening around us. This isn't the stillness of a stagnant pond, but more like the eye of a hurricane, completely calm while surrounded by tremendous activity, or like the deep ocean, which remains peaceful and clear even when the surface is churned by storms. This kind of stillness doesn't require changing your external circumstances. It requires discovering the natural peace that's already present beneath the surface noise of modern life. What's particularly beautiful about this teaching is that it transforms busyness from a problem into a practice opportunity. Those moments of feeling overwhelmed become chances to find the still point within activity. Traffic jams become opportunities for micro-meditation. Waiting in lines becomes gateways to presence. Even the chaos of family life or demanding work situations can become laboratories for developing unshakable inner calm. Today we'll explore how to access this stillness without needing to escape your current life circumstances. We'll discover why perfect external conditions aren't necessary for genuine peace, learn practical techniques for finding calm in chaos, and explore how to cultivate stillness as a portable sanctuary that travels with you through all of life's inevitable busyness. The promise of this practice is profound. You can develop a quality of inner stillness that doesn't depend on your circumstances being calm, quiet, or under control. This isn't about adding another task to your already full schedule. It's about discovering the peace that's available right now, right in the middle of whatever busy situation you're currently navigating. Whether you're a parent juggling multiple responsibilities, a professional managing demanding deadlines, or simply someone who feels caught in the accelerating pace of modern life, the wisdom of stillness offers a pathway back to your natural state of calm awareness. Let's begin this exploration together, starting with understanding what true stillness actually means in the Buddhist tradition. To truly transform our relationship with busyness, we need to understand what the Buddhist tradition means by stillness, because it's quite different from what most of us imagine when we hear the word. When we think of stillness, we often picture empty meditation halls, complete silence, or perhaps lying motionless on a beach somewhere. But the Buddhist understanding of stillness is far more dynamic, practical, and accessible than these images suggest. In the ancient Pali language, the word samatha is often translated as stillness or calm, but it literally means dwelling in peace. Notice that this isn't about the absence of activity, but about the quality of mind that can remain peaceful within activity. It's not about what you're doing, but how you're doing it, the mental state you bring to whatever is happening. There's a famous story about the Buddha being asked by a student how he maintained such composure despite teaching large crowds, dealing with difficult questioners, and traveling constantly throughout India. The Buddha replied that he had found what he called the still point, a quality of awareness that remains undisturbed regardless of external circumstances. This still point isn't something you create through effort. It's something you discover by learning to rest in awareness itself. This points to a crucial distinction between stillness and what we might call emptiness or boredom. Stillness isn't a blank, vacant state where nothing is happening. Instead, it's a vibrant, alert presence that's fully engaged with life while remaining internally peaceful. Think of a skilled musician who can play complex, energetic music while maintaining perfect poise and presence. Their fingers are moving rapidly, their mind is engaged, yet there's a quality of centered calm underlying the entire performance. The Buddha taught that this stillness is actually our natural state, not something we need to manufacture or achieve through tremendous effort. It's more like remembering something we've temporarily forgotten. When we were very young children, before we learned to be anxious about time or overwhelmed by responsibilities, we could be completely absorbed in simple activities, playing with toys, watching clouds, or listening to stories without the internal commentary and restlessness that characterizes adult consciousness. Modern neuroscience offers fascinating confirmation of this ancient insight. Brain imaging studies show that when we're in states of calm awareness, our default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for self-referential thinking and mental chatter, quiets down naturally. We don't force it to be quiet. It settles on its own when we stop feeding it with anxious thoughts and future-focused planning. What makes Buddhist stillness particularly relevant to our busy lives is its relationship to awareness itself. Stillness isn't about turning off awareness or becoming unconscious. Instead, it's about recognizing that awareness naturally has a quality of spacious calm when it's not caught up in the content of thoughts and experiences. It's like recognizing that the sky remains peaceful and clear, even when filled with fast-moving clouds. This leads to one of the most liberating insights about stillness. It actually enhances rather than diminishes our capacity for effective engagement with life. When we're operating from a place of inner calm, we think more clearly, respond more appropriately to challenges, and maintain better emotional regulation during stressful situations. Far from making us passive or disconnected, stillness makes us more skillful and present in our interactions. I remember the first time I truly understood this during a particularly hectic day at work. Instead of my usual frantic energy, I decided to experiment with maintaining inner stillness while handling multiple urgent tasks. To my surprise, I accomplished more with less effort and felt energized rather than drained at the end of the day. The work was the same, but the quality of presence I brought to it was completely different. This connects to an important distinction between stillness and suppression. Some people attempt to create calm by pushing down their thoughts and emotions, which creates a brittle kind of quiet that easily shatters under pressure. True stillness doesn't suppress anything. Instead, it provides a spacious awareness within which thoughts and emotions can arise and pass without disturbing our underlying peace. It's helpful to think of stillness as the difference between a glass of muddy water that's been shaken versus one that's been allowed to settle. When shaken, the mud obscures the water and everything appears chaotic. When allowed to settle naturally, the mud settles to the bottom and the water becomes clear, not because the mud disappeared, but because it found its natural resting place. Our thoughts and emotions are like that mud. Stillness allows them to settle naturally rather than trying to eliminate them. The Buddha also taught that stillness is intimately connected with wisdom. When the mind is calm and clear, we can see situations more accurately, understand our patterns more clearly, and respond from wisdom rather than reactivity. This is why many spiritual traditions emphasize developing stillness as a foundation for insight and compassionate action. What's particularly encouraging about this understanding is that it suggests stillness is always available to us, regardless of our external circumstances. Whether you're in a noisy city or quiet countryside, dealing with demanding children or challenging colleagues, managing health issues or financial stress, The capacity for inner stillness remains accessible because it's a fundamental quality of awareness itself. As we move into exploring practical applications of this understanding, remember that we're not trying to create some special state that doesn't normally exist. Instead, we're learning to recognize and rest in the natural stillness that's already present beneath the surface activity of our busy minds. Like learning to see the calm depths beneath choppy waves, developing stillness is more about recognition than achievement, more about remembering than learning something entirely new. One of the biggest obstacles to finding stillness in our busy world is the persistent belief that we need perfect external conditions to experience inner peace. We tell ourselves we'll meditate when we find a quiet space, we'll feel calm when life slows down, or we'll practice mindfulness when we have more time. But this way of thinking keeps stillness perpetually out of reach, always just beyond our current circumstances. I used to be the master of this delusion. I'd think, once I move to a quieter neighborhood, then I'll be able to meditate properly. When the kids are older and less demanding, then I'll have space for inner peace. If only I had a dedicated meditation room with perfect lighting and complete silence, then I could really develop a practice. Meanwhile, years passed while I waited for these ideal conditions that never quite materialized. The turning point came when I discovered stories of Buddhist masters who had cultivated profound stillness in the most challenging circumstances imaginable. There's the account of Tibetan monks maintaining deep meditation practice while imprisoned and tortured. Stories of Vietnamese Zen masters finding peace during the chaos of war. Contemporary teachers who've developed unshakable calm while raising children, working, demanding jobs, or dealing with serious illness. These examples shattered my assumption that external quiet was necessary for internal stillness. They revealed that the noise and chaos I was trying to escape weren't actually the problem. Resistance to noise and chaos was creating far more agitation than the external conditions themselves. This insight radically changed my approach to practice. Instead of waiting for perfect conditions, I began experimenting with finding stillness right in the middle of imperfect ones. I discovered that the construction noise outside my apartment could become a backdrop for awareness rather than a barrier to it. The demanding deadlines at work could become opportunities to practice calm presence rather than obstacles to inner peace. Here's what's fascinating about noise and distraction from a Buddhist perspective. External sounds and activity only become problems when we mentally resist them. The jackhammer outside your window isn't inherently more disturbing than the sound of waves on a beach is. Our stories about the jackhammer, this is terrible. I can't concentrate. Why does this always happen to me? That create the agitation, not the sound itself. This doesn't mean we should seek out chaotic environments or ignore legitimate needs for rest and quiet, but it does mean we can stop making our inner peace hostage to external circumstances that are largely beyond our control. We can develop the capacity to find stillness, whether we're in a peaceful monastery or a bustling coffee shop. Practically speaking, this shift opens up countless opportunities for practice that we might have previously dismissed. That crowded subway car becomes a place to cultivate inner calm rather than endure until you reach your destination. The office with fluorescent lighting and ringing phones becomes a laboratory for maintaining presence amid stimulation. Even your own home with its family noise and neighborhood sounds becomes a perfect training ground for real-world stillness. The concept of what I call a portable sanctuary becomes invaluable here. Instead of depending on external sanctuary as special places where you go to find peace, you learn to carry sanctuary with you through the quality of awareness you cultivate. Your sanctuary becomes internal rather than external, available anywhere you happen to find yourself. Urban environments offer particularly rich opportunities for this kind of practice. Cities are like intensive training programs for finding stillness amid activity. The sensory input is constant and varied. The pace is demanding, and the challenges to maintaining calm are numerous. But these same conditions can develop remarkable resilience and skill in accessing inner quiet. I know a meditation teacher who deliberately practices in Times Square, one of the most stimulating environments imaginable. She says the tourist crowds, bright lights, street performers, and traffic noise have become her teachers in finding the still point within chaos. What seemed like the last place you'd go to meditate became her most profound training ground. Working with unavoidable environmental chaos requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing noise and activity as enemies of peace, we can begin to relate to them as part of the natural texture of life. Construction sounds become like bird songs, just sounds arising and passing in awareness. Traffic becomes like the sound of a river-flowing movement that can actually support a meditative state if we stop fighting against it. There's a Zen saying, "You are perfect as you are," and you could use a little improvement. Applied to our practice environments, this becomes, "This place is perfect for practice as it is," and you might also enjoy finding quieter spaces sometimes. The key is not needing different conditions, while also appreciating them when they arise naturally. This approach has practical benefits beyond just making peace with noise. When you develop the ability to find stillness in challenging conditions, you build genuine resilience, rather than conditional calm that disappears the moment circumstances change. You develop what we might call anti-fragile, peace inner quiet that actually grows stronger through encountering difficulty rather than being weakened by it. Let's try a brief experiment with this right now. Notice whatever sounds are present in your current environment, perhaps traffic, voices, air conditioning, or household noises. Instead of trying to tune them out or wishing they were different, see if you can simply let them be part of your awareness without resistance. Notice how the sounds come and go, rise and fall, appear and dissolve in the space of your attention. Can you find a quality of stillness that includes these sounds rather than being disturbed by them? This practice reveals something profound. The stillness we're seeking isn't separate from the noise and activity of life. It's the awareness within which all noise and activity arise and pass away. When we understand this, we stop needing to control our environment in order to access inner peace. We can find the calm center that exists, whether we're in a library or a construction zone, whether we're alone at home or surrounded by people. The myth of needing perfect conditions keeps us perpetually postponing the peace that's available right now. But when we release this myth, every moment and every environment becomes a potential gateway to the stillness. That's our natural inheritance. This doesn't mean we can't appreciate quiet when it comes, but it does mean we stop making our well-being dependent on circumstances that may never align perfectly with our preferences. Now let's explore one of the most practical and transformative aspects of finding stillness in a busy world, discovering the power of micro moments. These are brief windows of calm, sometimes lasting only 30 seconds, that are available throughout even the most hectic days. The beauty of micro moments is that they don't require rearranging your schedule or finding extra time. They use the small gaps and transitions that already exist in your daily routine. The secret lies in recognizing that stillness doesn't require duration to be profound. A single conscious breath can shift your entire nervous system from stress to calm. A brief moment of aware presence while waiting for your coffee to brew can create more peace than an hour of distracted relaxation time. These micro moments work because they interrupt the momentum of mental busyness and create small spaces of refuge throughout your day. Let's start with transitions, which are gold mines for micro stillness practice. Most of us rush from one activity to the next without pause, carrying the energy and thoughts from the previous task into the new one. But transitions offer natural opportunities to reset and return to center. The moment before you start your car, the pause between hanging up one phone call and making the next, the brief space between closing one computer program and opening another, these are all gateways to micro stillness. I discovered the power of transition stillness quite by accident. I was having an overwhelmingly busy day when my computer crashed, forcing me to wait several minutes for it to restart. Instead of my usual frustration, I decided to simply sit and breathe during the wait. Those 3 minutes of unplanned stillness transformed my entire afternoon. I returned to work feeling refreshed and focused, rather than frazzled and reactive. Commuting offers incredible opportunities for micro-stillness practice, whether you're driving, riding, public transportation, or walking. The key is shifting from seeing travel time as something to endure or fill with distraction, to viewing it as precious opportunity for presence. Those red lights become meditation bells calling you back to awareness. The subway delays become invitations to practice patience and inner calm. Even walking between destinations becomes walking meditation when approached with the right intention. My favorite urban stillness practice is what I call red light meditation. Every time you're stopped at a traffic light, instead of checking your phone or mentally rehearsing your to-do list, use those 30-60 seconds to simply breathe and be present. Feel your hands on the steering wheel. Notice your breath naturally flowing. Observe the world around you without judgment. These brief pauses accumulate throughout your commute, creating islands of calm in what's often one of the most stressful parts of many people's days. Even mundane activities like waiting in line become opportunities for micro-stillness. Instead of immediately reaching for your phone or getting frustrated by delays, try treating these moments as gifts of unscheduled presence. The grocery store checkout line becomes a chance to practice patience and observe the small details around you. The doctor's office waiting room becomes an opportunity to connect with your breath and settle into your body. Bathroom breaks might sound trivial, but they're actually perfect opportunities for micro-stillness practice. You're already taking time away from other activities. You have natural privacy, and you're typically alone with minimal distractions. Those 2 minutes can become a mini retreat if you approach them mindfully, taking a few conscious breaths, relaxing your shoulders, or simply appreciating the brief solitude. Technology can either hinder or support micro-stillness practice, depending on how we use it. Set gentle reminder bells on your phone to ring randomly throughout the day, not to add another task, but to invite brief moments of presence. When the bell rings, take 3 conscious breaths wherever you are and whatever you're doing. These technological cues can help establish the habit of regularly returning to stillness until it becomes more natural. The transition between work tasks offers particularly rich opportunities for micro-stillness. Before checking the next email, take 1 conscious breath. Before entering a meeting, pause for a moment to center yourself. Before starting a new project, briefly connect with your intention and presence. These micro-pauses can prevent the accumulation of stress throughout your workday and help you approach each task with greater clarity and calm. Let's practice a micro moment right now. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, take 3 conscious breaths. With the first breath, simply notice that you're breathing. With the second breath, relax any tension you're holding in your body. With the third breath, appreciate this brief moment of presence. Notice how even this simple 15-second practice can create a small shift in your internal state. The beauty of micro moments is their accessibility and sustainability. You don't need to find extra time in your schedule, you don't need special equipment or perfect conditions, and you don't need to be an experienced meditator. These practices meet you wherever you are and work with whatever circumstances you're facing. Building micro-stillness habits through existing routines makes the practice effortless and automatic. Every time you wash your hands, take 1 conscious breath. Every time you drink water, pause briefly to appreciate both the water and your body's ability to be nourished. Every time you walk through a doorway, use it as a reminder to return to present moment awareness. One meditation student shared how micro moments transformed her experience of being a busy parent. I used to think I needed long periods of quiet to feel centered, but that was impossible with young children. Learning to find 30-second moments of stillness throughout the day while folding laundry, waiting for dinner to cook, or sitting in the car before going into the grocery store gave me access to peace I thought was impossible in my current life stage. The cumulative effect of these micro moments is remarkable. Like drops of water eventually filling a bucket, brief instances of stillness throughout the day create a foundation of calm that supports you through even the most demanding periods. You're not trying to eliminate busyness from your life, but rather weaving threads of stillness through the fabric of your busy days. What's particularly wonderful about micro moments is that they begin to expand naturally. A 30-second pause becomes a minute of presence. Brief transitions become longer periods of mindful activity. The capacity for stillness grows not through forcing longer practices, but through consistently returning to these small opportunities for presence that are always available, no matter how busy life becomes. One of the most profound discoveries in Buddhist practice is that stillness doesn't require physical motionlessness. In fact, some of the deepest states of inner calm can be found right in the middle of activity and movement. This understanding revolutionizes how we approach our busy lives. Instead of seeing activity as the enemy of peace, we can discover how motion itself can become a gateway to stillness. The Zen tradition has a beautiful concept called meditation in action, which recognizes that any activity performed with complete presence and awareness can become a form of moving meditation. This isn't about doing things slowly or in a special way. It's about bringing a quality of mindful attention to whatever you're already doing. The dishwasher who washes each plate with full awareness can access the same stillness as someone sitting motionless on a meditation cushion. I first experienced this while cooking dinner during a particularly stressful week. Instead of my usual habit of mentally rehearsing work problems while chopping vegetables, I decided to focus completely on the task at hand. I noticed the colors and textures of the food, felt the weight of the knife in my hand, heard the rhythmic sound of chopping. To my surprise, 15 minutes later, I felt more centered and peaceful than I had all day. The activity itself had become meditation. The key insight is discovering what I call the still center within movement. Think of a skilled dancer who can move with incredible fluidity and energy while maintaining perfect poise and presence. Or a master craftsperson who becomes completely absorbed in their work, losing all sense of time and self-consciousness while their hands move with practiced precision. In both cases, there's tremendous activity on the surface, but profound stillness at the center. This principle applies beautifully to household tasks, which many of us see as chores to rush through. But cleaning, cooking, organizing, and maintaining our living spaces offer rich opportunities for moving meditation. When you vacuum the floor, you can be fully present with the repetitive motion, the sound of the machine, the gradual transformation of messy space into clean space. When you fold laundry, you can appreciate the textures of different fabrics, the geometric pleasure of creating neat piles, the caring act of maintaining clothes that protect your family. Walking meditation in busy environments might be one of the most practical applications of stillness and motion. Whether you're walking to work, through a shopping mall, or around your neighborhood, you can transform ordinary walking into contemplative practice. The key is shifting from walking to get somewhere to walking as a way of being present with each step. You can still arrive at your destination. You're simply approaching the journey with awareness rather than impatience. Even in crowded urban environments, walking meditation becomes a moving sanctuary. The rhythm of your steps becomes like a mantra. The sensation of your feet touching the ground becomes an anchor for attention, and the constantly changing scenery becomes a flowing meditation on impermanence. Instead of being frustrated by slow pedestrians or busy sidewalks, you can practice patience and kindness while maintaining your own center of calm. One of the most transformative applications of this practice is finding stillness during conversations and social interactions. Usually, when we're talking with others, our minds are busy formulating responses, judging what we're hearing, or thinking about what we want to say next. But it's possible to listen from stillness, to be completely present with the other person while maintaining inner calm and spaciousness. This kind of listening is a gift both to yourself and to others. When you listen from stillness, you hear more clearly, understand more deeply, and respond more wisely. People sense this quality of presence, and conversations become more meaningful and less draining. Instead of social interaction depleting your energy, it can actually become a form of shared meditation when approached with awareness. Physical exercise offers another wonderful laboratory for exploring stillness in motion. Whether you're running, lifting weights, practicing yoga, or playing sports, you can discover the calm center within physical activity. The key is shifting from forcing your way through exercise to flowing with your body's natural rhythms and capabilities. I know runners who describe entering states of profound peace during long runs, where the repetitive motion of their legs and the rhythm of their breathing create a natural, meditative state. Weightlifters who find deep presence in the focused attention required for each lift. Yoga practitioners who discover that their mat becomes a sacred space, where movement and stillness dance together. The secret is learning to breathe consciously during physical activity, rather than holding your breath or breathing frantically. When you coordinate movement with awareness of breath, even challenging exercise can become meditation in motion. Your breath becomes the bridge between the activity of your body and the stillness of your awareness. Working life offers countless opportunities for finding stillness within activity, though it requires a shift in how we approach our professional tasks. Instead of rushing through work to get it done as quickly as possible, we can experiment with bringing complete attention to each task. Whether you're writing emails, making phone calls, or attending meetings, you can discover the still center within professional activity. This doesn't mean working slowly or being less productive. In fact, many people find they work more efficiently when approaching tasks from stillness because they're less scattered and more focused. The frantic energy that often characterizes busy work lives gets replaced by a more sustainable rhythm that can actually accomplish more with less effort. Let's try a brief experiment with stillness in motion. If you're able, stand up and walk very slowly across the room, or take a few steps wherever you are. Instead of walking to get somewhere, walk simply to experience walking. Feel each foot as it contacts the ground. Notice the shifting of weight from one leg to the other. Be aware of your arms moving naturally at your sides. Can you find a quality of presence and calm within this simple movement? The profound insight here is that stillness and activity aren't opposites. They can coexist beautifully. The deepest stillness isn't found by avoiding movement, but by discovering the peaceful awareness within which all movement occurs. This awareness remains stable whether your body is sitting quietly or engaged in vigorous activity, whether you're alone in meditation or interacting with dozens of people. When you begin to embody this understanding, your entire approach to busy life transforms. Activity stops being something that prevents stillness and becomes something that can express stillness. Work stops being separate from practice and becomes an opportunity for cultivating presence. Social interaction stops being draining and becomes energizing. Physical exercise stops being something you endure and becomes something you enjoy. The ultimate freedom comes when you realize that you don't need to escape activity to find peace. You can find peace right in the heart of activity. This makes stillness truly portable and practical, available not just during quiet moments, but throughout the full spectrum of human experience. Whether you're rushing to meet a deadline, or leisurely enjoying a hobby, washing dishes, or giving a presentation, the same quality of aware presence is available to transform any activity into meditation in motion. Let's address the elephant in the room. Even when you understand stillness intellectually and create perfect external conditions, there's still the challenge of the busy mind itself, that constant stream of thoughts, worries, plans, memories, and mental chatter that seems to run on autopilot from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep. Working skillfully with mental restlessness might be the most important aspect of finding genuine stillness in our thought-heavy modern world. Buddhist psychology has a wonderful term for this mental phenomenon: monkey mind. Picture a monkey swinging frantically from branch to branch, never staying in one place for more than a moment, always reaching for the next thing. This perfectly captures how our thoughts often behave, jumping from past regrets to future worries, from work concerns to relationship issues, from random memories to imaginary conversations, all within the span of a few minutes. The first crucial insight about working with busy mind is understanding that trying to stop thoughts actually increases mental agitation rather than reducing it. It's like trying to calm turbulent water by slapping at the waves. Your efforts only create more disturbance. Many people abandon meditation or mindfulness practice because they think having thoughts means they're doing it wrong, when actually noticing thoughts is exactly what awareness does. Here's a liberating reframe. The goal isn't to eliminate thoughts, but to change your relationship with them. Think of the difference between being caught in a river current versus sitting on the riverbank watching the water flow by. In both cases, the river is flowing, but your relationship to the flow is completely different. Similarly, thoughts can continue arising and passing while you rest in the aware space that observes them rather than being swept away by their content. This connects to one of the most profound distinctions in Buddhist psychology: the difference between thoughts and the awareness of thoughts. Thoughts are like clouds. They appear, change shape, and disappear. Awareness is like the sky, vast, stable, and unaffected by whatever passes through it. When you identify with thoughts, you feel tossed around by their constant changes. When you rest in awareness, you can observe thoughts with the same peaceful detachment you might watch clouds drift across the sky. Let me share several practical techniques that have proven effective for settling mental restlessness. The noting practice is particularly powerful for busy minds. Instead of fighting against thoughts or trying to concentrate them away, you simply note what type of mental activity is occurring: planning, remembering, worrying, judging. This gentle labeling creates a small space between you and the thought content, helping you recognize patterns without getting lost in specific stories. You might notice, "Oh, there goes the planning mind again," or "The worry habit is active right now." Anchoring attention in body sensations provides a refuge from mental spinning. When your mind feels scattered, you can always return to the simple reality of physical sensation: the feeling of your feet on the ground, your body in the chair, your hands resting in your lap. The body is always in the present moment, so connecting with physical sensations naturally brings you back from mental time travel to current reality. Using sound as a stillness gateway works beautifully with restless minds. Instead of trying to block out environmental sounds, you can rest your attention on whatever you're hearing: the hum of air conditioning, distant traffic, voices from other rooms. Sound naturally draws attention into the present moment and provides a stable anchor that's always available, even in busy environments. For particularly scattered attention, breath counting offers a gentle structure that gives the mind something to do while still cultivating stillness. Count each exhale from 1 to 10, then start over. When you lose track, which you will simply begin again, at one without judgment. This isn't about perfect counting, but about repeatedly returning attention to a simple anchor. Working with anxiety and overwhelm through stillness requires understanding that these intense mental states are actually opportunities for deeper practice. When anxiety arises, instead of trying to push it away or analyze it to death, you can practice being with the raw energy of anxiety while maintaining connection to stillness. Feel the physical sensations of anxiety in your body. Notice its mental texture and breathe with it rather than fighting against it. The practice of mental noting for emotional storms is particularly valuable. When you're experiencing intense emotions, you can note them just like thoughts. Anxiety is here. Sadness is visiting. Anger is arising. This simple acknowledgement often takes some of the charge out of emotional intensity while helping you remember that you're the awareness experiencing these states, not the states themselves. There's a beautiful paradox in how stillness helps with decision-making and clarity. When your mind is busy and reactive, decisions often get made from anxiety, impulse, or habitual patterns. But when you can find even brief moments of stillness before making choices, you access a different quality of wisdom. That pause between stimulus and responsiven, if it's just one conscious breath, can be the difference between reactive decisions you later regret and wise choices aligned with your deeper values. I remember a particularly chaotic period when I was facing several major life decisions, simultaneous career changes, relationship questions, living situation, uncertainties. My mind was spinning with pros and cons lists, worst-case scenarios, and endless mental loops. Instead of trying to think my way to clarity, I committed to finding brief moments of stillness before contemplating any major choice. During those quiet moments, insights would arise that my busy thinking mind had been too agitated to access. Let's try a practice for working with restless mind right now. Notice whatever mental activity is present, perhaps thoughts about this content, concerns about your day, or random mental chatter. Instead of trying to stop or change these thoughts, simply observe them with curiosity. What's the quality of your mental activity right now? Is it fast or slow, anxious or calm, focused or scattered? Can you observe your mind's activity the way you might watch fish swimming in an aquarium with interest, but without needing to control what you're seeing? Now try shifting your attention to your breath, not to control it, but simply to notice it. If thoughts pull your attention away, that's completely normal. Just gently return to breath awareness when you notice you've wandered. This isn't about forcing concentration, but about repeatedly returning to a simple anchor for attention. One of the most helpful insights about mental restlessness is understanding that it often intensifies before it settles. When you first start paying attention to your mind, you might be shocked by how busy it actually is. This isn't because meditation is making your mind more restless. It's because you're finally noticing what was already happening. It's like turning on a light in a room full of flying insects. The light doesn't create the insects, but it makes their activity visible. This initial increase in awareness of mental activity is actually a good signal, means your mindfulness is developing. Over time, as you continue working skillfully with thoughts and emotions rather than being overwhelmed by them, the mind naturally begins to settle. Not because you're forcing it to be quiet, but because you're no longer feeding mental restlessness with resistance and reactivity. The ultimate freedom comes when you realize that mental stillness doesn't require the absence of thoughts any more than physical stillness requires the absence of sound. Stillness is the spacious awareness within which thoughts arise and pass away, the calm center that remains undisturbed whether your mind is busy or quiet. When you discover this awareness, you can experience profound peace even when your mind is active. Because you're no longer identified with the mental activity, you're resting in the awareness that observes it all. Let's address one of the most challenging aspects of finding stillness in our modern world, our relationship with technology and the constant stream of digital stimulation that has become the backdrop of contemporary life. For many of us, the path to stillness feels blocked by smartphones, social media, email notifications, and the general sense of being always plugged in to an endless flow of information and connectivity. The challenge isn't technology itself. These tools can be incredibly useful and even supportive of mindfulness practice when used skillfully. The challenge is that most of us have developed unconscious habits around technology that fragment our attention and prevent us from accessing the natural stillness that's always available. We've trained ourselves to reach for stimulation whenever there's a moment of potential quiet, filling every gap with scrolling, checking, or consuming digital content. I discovered how deeply this pattern had taken root during a power outage that lasted several hours. For the first hour, I felt genuinely anxious without access to my usual digital distractions. But as the evening progressed, something remarkable happened. My mind began to settle in a way it hadn't in months. I found myself noticing details of my physical environment that I'd been oblivious to, having thoughts that felt more spacious and creative, and experiencing a quality of presence that I'd forgotten was possible. This experience revealed that the issue wasn't needing technology, but needing conscious boundaries between stimulation and stillness. Just as we need boundaries between work and rest, noise and quiet, social time and solitude, we need intentional transitions between digital engagement and offline presence. Creating these boundaries doesn't require dramatic digital detoxes or throwing your phone into the ocean. Instead, it's about developing what I call conscious disconnection, the ability to purposefully step away from digital stimulation when you want to access deeper states of calm and presence. This might mean starting your day with 10 minutes of offline time before checking messages, or creating a phone-free hour before bed, or simply taking conscious breaks from screens throughout the day. The art of conscious disconnection is learning to tolerate the initial restlessness that often arises when we stop feeding our minds with constant stimulation. Most of us have become so accustomed to perpetual input that moments without stimulation can initially feel uncomfortable or boring. But if you can stay present with this discomfort instead of immediately reaching for distraction, you'll often discover that boredom transforms into spaciousness, restlessness settles into calm, and the natural stillness of awareness becomes accessible. Technology can actually support stillness practice when used intentionally. Meditation apps can provide guided practices and timing bells. Airplane mode can create temporary digital sanctuaries. Calendar reminders can prompt micro moments of mindfulness throughout busy days. The key is using technology consciously rather than being used by it, approaching digital tools as supports for awareness rather than escapes from it. Digital Sabbaths, designated periods without devices or internet offer valuable practice in rediscovering offline presence. This doesn't need to be extreme. Even a few hours on Sunday morning or one evening per week can help reset your relationship with technology. During these times, notice how your mind responds to the absence of digital stimulation. Do you feel anxious, bored, or restless initially? Can you stay present with these feelings rather than immediately seeking relief through reconnection? Working with information overload through stillness practices becomes essential in our data-rich environment. The constant stream of news, social media updates, emails, and notifications can create a persistent state of mental agitation that makes stillness feel impossible. One approach is practicing what I call information fasting, deliberately taking breaks from consuming new information to allow your mind to process and integrate what you've already encountered. This might mean checking news only once or twice per day rather than continuously, or setting specific times for social media rather than scrolling throughout the day. The goal isn't to become uninformed, but to consume information from a place of conscious choice rather than compulsive habit. Engaging with social media from stillness requires particular skill, given how these platforms are designed to capture and fragment attention. Before opening any social media app, try taking one conscious breath and setting an intention for how you want to engage. Do you want to connect with specific people, share something meaningful, or simply browse for entertainment? Having a clear intention helps prevent the mindless scrolling that can consume hours without providing genuine satisfaction. While using social media, practice periodic check-ins with your internal state. How do you feel after scrolling for 10 minutes? Are you feeling more connected or more isolated, more inspired or more agitated? These moments of self-awareness can help you recognize when social media is serving you versus when it's fragmenting your attention and depleting your peace. Creating sacred spaces within digital environments means approaching even online activities with mindfulness and intention. When writing emails, can you bring the same quality of presence you might bring to writing a letter by hand? When participating in video calls, can you practice full attention and genuine listening rather than multitasking in the background? Even digital communication can become an expression of mindful presence when approached consciously. The practice of one thing at a time becomes revolutionary in our multitasking culture. Instead of having multiple browser tabs open, multiple apps running, and multiple streams of input competing for attention, experiment with single tasking, close unnecessary programs, focus on one communication at a time, and resist the urge to constantly switch between different digital activities. This creates space for deeper engagement and paradoxically often increases productivity while reducing stress. Screen time itself can become more mindful through conscious engagement. Instead of passively consuming content, practice active viewing, really paying attention to what you're watching or reading rather than using it as background distraction. This transforms entertainment from mindless consumption into conscious choice, often leading to greater satisfaction with less screen time. Let's try a brief digital mindfulness practice. If you have a smartphone nearby, notice your impulse to check it during this exercise. Instead of immediately reaching for the device, pause and observe the urge itself. What does it feel like in your body? Is there restlessness, curiosity, or habit driving the impulse? Can you stay present with the urge without acting on it, allowing it to arise and pass naturally like any other mental phenomenon? This simple exercise reveals how automatic our reaching for digital stimulation has become. By creating small moments of choice around technology use, we begin to reclaim our agency and develop a more conscious relationship with these powerful tools. The ultimate goal isn't to eliminate technology from our lives, but to use it as a conscious choice rather than an unconscious habit. When you can access genuine stillness, that spacious, peaceful awareness that doesn't depend on constant stimulation, you can engage with technology more skillfully. You can enjoy its benefits without being enslaved by its demands. Use it as a tool for connection and creativity rather than an escape from presence. And maintain your center of calm even while navigating our hyper-connected world. This balanced approach allows technology to serve your deeper intentions rather than hijacking your attention. It transforms digital engagement from something that fragments your awareness into something that can actually support your overall well-being and conscious living. As our exploration deepens, we arrive at perhaps the most transformative aspect of stillness practice, the shift from doing stillness to being stillness. This isn't just about finding quiet moments or managing busy periods. It's about discovering a fundamental quality of presence that becomes your natural way of moving through the world, regardless of external circumstances. When stillness becomes a way of being rather than something you occasionally practice, a profound transformation occurs in how you show up in relationships, work, and daily life. People sense this quality of centered presence, even if they can't articulate what feels different about you. Conversations become more meaningful because you're truly listening rather than preparing your next response. Challenges feel more manageable because you're responding from wisdom rather than reactivity. Even mundane activities carry a quality of grace and ease. I witnessed this transformation in a meditation student who began practicing micro moments of stillness throughout her busy day as a nurse. Initially, she was simply trying to manage work stress, but over months of consistent practice, something deeper shifted. Her colleagues began commenting on her calm presence during emergencies. Patients felt more comfortable in her care. She found herself naturally slowing down conversations with distressed family members, creating space for their emotions rather than rushing to fix everything. Stillness had become not just something she did, but something she embodied. This quality of presence creates what I call stillness ripple effects. When you operate from genuine inner calm, it naturally influences the people around you. Anxious individuals often feel more settled in your presence. Hurried colleagues may unconsciously slow down when interacting with you. Even chaotic environments can feel slightly more peaceful when someone anchored in stillness enters the space. You become like a tuning fork that helps others remember their own capacity for calm. This isn't about being passive or withdrawn. In fact, people who embody stillness are often more effective in their interactions because they're not wasting energy on internal reactivity. They can respond to challenges with clarity rather than being overwhelmed by them. They can engage fully in conversations because they're not simultaneously managing internal commentary about what they're hearing. Building resilience through regular stillness practice creates what researchers call psychological capital, the inner resources that help you navigate difficulties with greater ease and recover more quickly from setbacks. When stillness becomes your baseline state rather than something you only access during formal practice, you have a portable source of strength that travels with you through all of life's inevitable challenges. The practice of creating daily rhythms that support natural calm is essential for this deeper integration. This isn't about rigid schedules, but about recognizing the natural rhythm between activity and rest that supports sustained well-being. Just as your body has circadian rhythms that govern sleep and waking, your nervous system benefits from regular rhythms of engagement and stillness throughout each day. This might mean starting each morning with a few minutes of quiet presence before diving into activity, or taking brief pauses between different types of work to reset your internal state, or ending each day with a moment of appreciation and release before sleep. These rhythms become as natural as breathing when approached with consistency and care. Maintaining practice during intensely busy periods requires what I call stealth stillness, the ability to access calm presence, even when external circumstances are demanding. This is where all the micro-moment practices we've explored become invaluable. When life gets hectic, you don't abandon stillness practice. You simply adapt it to work within whatever constraints you're facing. During a recent period when I was caring for an ill family member while managing work deadlines, formal meditation practice became impossible. But the foundation of stillness I'd been cultivating allowed me to find moments of presence throughout each demanding day, brief pauses while walking hospital corridors, conscious breathing while waiting for medical updates, appreciation for small kindnesses from healthcare workers. Stillness didn't require perfect conditions. It traveled with me through the chaos. Signs of deepening stillness practice often surprise people because they're more about ease than effort. You might notice that you're less reactive to triggers that previously sent you into stress spirals. Traffic jams stop feeling like personal affronts and become simply neutral circumstances to navigate. Difficult people become opportunities to practice patience rather than sources of automatic irritation. Uncertainty feels less threatening because you've developed comfort with not knowing outcome. Another sign is finding natural joy in simple activities that you might have previously rushed through. Washing dishes becomes a meditative activity rather than a chore. Walking to your car becomes a brief journey through awareness rather than dead time between destinations. Even challenging conversations carry a quality of presence that makes them more manageable and often more productive. Perhaps most significantly, you begin to trust your capacity to handle whatever arises. This isn't overconfidence or denial of real difficulties, but a quiet faith in your ability to meet challenges from a place of centeredness rather than reactivity. You know that regardless of what happens externally, you can access the stillness that provides perspective and wisdom. Let's explore what this integration might feel like through a brief practice. Settle comfortably and take a few conscious breaths to connect with the stillness that's always available within you. Now imagine moving through your typical day work meetings, family interactions, daily tasks while maintaining connection to this inner calm. You're not withdrawn or detached, but fully engaged while resting in peaceful awareness. Can you sense how this quality of presence might transform ordinary activities and relationships? The beautiful paradox of cultivating stillness as a way of being is that it makes you more effective in action rather than less. When you're not fighting against inner restlessness or being pulled in multiple directions by conflicting thoughts and emotions, your energy becomes more focused and available for what genuinely matters. You can engage wholeheartedly with whatever requires your attention while maintaining the spacious awareness that provides perspective and wisdom. This integration represents a fundamental shift in how you understand yourself and your relationship to busy life. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who occasionally finds moments of peace within a basically chaotic existence, you begin to recognize yourself as awareness itself, naturally peaceful and spacious, temporarily focused through a human form that happens to be navigating modern challenges. From this perspective, stillness isn't something you achieve or lose, it's what you are. Busy periods become like weather patterns moving through the sky of awareness, sometimes stormy, sometimes calm, but never fundamentally disturbing the vast space within which all activity occurs. This recognition brings profound freedom because your well-being no longer depends on life being a particular way. You can dance with whatever arises while remaining rooted in the stillness that is your essential nature. As we bring our exploration of finding stillness in a busy world to a close, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the journey we've traveled together. We began with the common struggle of feeling perpetually overwhelmed in our hyper-connected, always-on modern world. And we've discovered that the peace we seek isn't found by escaping our circumstances, but by transforming our relationship to them. We've seen how stillness isn't about perfect external conditions or the absence of activity, but about discovering a quality of aware presence that can exist right in the middle of life's inevitable busyness. We've explored the myth of needing quiet environments and learned instead to find the portable sanctuary of inner calm that travels with us wherever we go. We've discovered micro moments of peace hidden in the transitions and gaps of our daily routines, and learned how motion and activity can themselves become expressions of meditative awareness. Perhaps most importantly, we've worked with the busy mind itself, learning that thoughts don't need to stop for stillness to be present, and that awareness itself is naturally spacious and calm when we're not fighting against mental activity. We've addressed our complex relationship with technology and digital overwhelm, finding ways to engage consciously with our connected world rather than being enslaved by it. The transformation from seeking external quiet to finding internal peace represents one of the most profound shifts possible in how we experience daily life. When you no longer need circumstances to be peaceful in order to feel peaceful, you discover a kind of freedom that's genuinely unshakable. Traffic jams become opportunities for presence rather than sources of frustration. Demanding work situations become chances to practice skillful engagement rather than causes of stress. Even family chaos can become a backdrop for cultivating patience and love. What makes this particularly exciting is how stillness actually enhances rather than diminishes your capacity for effective engagement with life's demand. When you're operating from inner calm, you think more clearly, respond more appropriately to challenges, and maintain better emotional regulation during stressful periods. Far from making you passive or withdrawn, stillness makes you more skillful and present in all your interactions. The promise of this practice is both immediate and long-term. You can begin experiencing the benefits of micro-stillness practices today. That red light on your drive home can become a meditation bell. That brief walk to the kitchen can become moving meditation. That moment before checking your phone can become a choice point for conscious engagement rather than automatic reaction. I invite you to experiment with just one aspect of what we've explored this week. Perhaps commit to finding 3 micro moments of stillness during tomorrow's activities. Maybe practice conscious transitions between tasks for the next few days. Or try approaching one routine activity: washing dishes, walking to work, or preparing meals with the quality of meditative presence we've discussed. Remember that this isn't about adding another task to your already full schedule. These practices work with the life you're already living, transforming ordinary activities into opportunities for cultivating the peace and presence that are your natural inheritance. The goal isn't to become someone who never feels busy or stressed, but to develop the capacity to meet busyness and stress from a place of centeredness rather than reactivity. In our next episode, we'll explore compassion for yourself and others, a teaching that beautifully complements stillness practice by showing how inner calm naturally gives rise to kindness and understanding in our relationships. When we're not caught up in our own internal reactivity, we have so much more capacity for genuine care and connection with others. Before we part, let's share a final moment of stillness together. Wherever you are right now, however busy your life might be, notice that stillness is available in this very moment. You don't need to change anything about your circumstances or wait for perfect conditions. Simply rest for a moment in the awareness that's reading these words, the spacious presence that remains constant, whether your mind is busy or quiet, whether your environment is chaotic or calm. Feel your breath naturally flowing. Notice any sounds around you without resistance, and appreciate this brief pause in the momentum of activity. This is the stillness that's always available, not as an escape from life, but as a way of meeting life with greater wisdom and peace. The Buddha taught that happiness doesn't depend on getting what you want, but on appreciating what you have. Similarly, stillness doesn't depend on life being quiet and calm, but on discovering the natural peace that exists within whatever is happening. This peace is your birthright, available not just during formal meditation or perfect conditions, but right here, right now, in the middle of your beautifully complex, inevitably busy human life. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. May you discover that the stillness you seek is closer than you ever imagined, not something to achieve in the future, but something to recognize in this present moment. May you find the eye of calm within whatever storms arise, and may your growing capacity for inner peace become a gift not just to yourself, but to everyone whose life you touch. Until we meet again, may you be still, may you be present, and may you discover that peace is always just one conscious breath away.